Once upon a time, in a land where pixies sprinkled their magic across the rolling hills, there lived a king and a queen. He was wise and bold like the sun. She was calm and mysterious like the moon. Despite their rank and considerable power, the king and queen didn't behave like typical royalty. They took off their shiny crowns and opened their hearts and home to everyone in the kingdom. For them, every moment shared was precious. Every smile was a reason to smile back. They valued people and listened to them, not only to reply but to understand. Needless to say, the royal pair was well loved. From sunrise to sunset, the king and queen surrounded themselves with people. But then when the stars filled the night sky, each enjoyed their time alone. One beautiful summer night, when everyone at the castle was sleeping, the queen decided to go for a walk. She tiptoed out of the royal chambers and walks gracefully through the marble rooms and empty corridors. The full moon shone through every window as if it wanted to guide her outside under the indigo sky. The air was warm and carried the rich scent of jasmine. The delicate white blossoms bloomed from every corner of the kingdom. Enjoying the fragrant air, the queen headed towards a nearby lake. Her flowing hair covered her shoulders, and a long nightgown draping from her body waved slowly in the wind. As if celebrating her arrival, a band of crickets chirped in unison. A few frogs with shy croaks also joined the peaceful melody. The lake was small, yet very clear, shining above it. The silver moon rested surrounded by 1,000,000 stars. The queen walked slowly around the lake, observing the world through its mirror-like surface like a caring parent. An old willow tree leaned over the crystalline water. The queen gazed at it in admiration. The tree had a thick trunk and broad branches. These dangling arms caressed the lake as if trying to gently lull it to sleep. Moved by this lovely image, the queen sat beneath the protective cover of the tree and watched her own reflection. Rippling in the water, the shape of her face morphed and changed every so often as a passing breeze sent tiny waves across the surface. The sight was mesmerizing and drew her in like a moth to light as one set of ripples flowed over her reflection. She saw the face of a young man. It looked like her, but it wasn't her. And when the ripples had passed, the young man's face remained. Just then, a bright star fell from the sparkling sky. Noticing it in the pure reflection of the lake, the queen looked up and followed its path to the ground. It fell toward her closer and closer with each second, without a sound or a splash. It landed in the lake directly on the forehead of the young man. The queen paused, wondering if what she'd witnessed was real or imagination. Then a gust of wind arrived, disrupting the stillness of the lake and washing away the face of the young man. The breeze caressed her skin, and the queen felt her body growing heavy. Overcome by a sudden drowsiness, she lied down beneath the old willow tree to rest for a while. The soft grass was filled with dormant flowers. A nightingale finished its song. Smiling, the queen closed her dreaming eyes and enjoyed the comforting silence in the warm, protective moonlight. Her body relaxed, her mind was at peace, and soon she drifted off to sleep the next day. The queen awoke, rested and energized. She didn't remember any dreams, just the star that fell from the sky and landed on the image of the young man in the lake. She walked back slowly to the castle around her. The green grass sparkled with precious drops of morning dew. Days and weeks passed, and life carried on as usual in the kingdom. Soon the queen's belly grew, and the wonderful news that the royal couple would have a child spread. Everyone in the kingdom was full of joy to hear this months later, when the day turned into night. The queen gave birth to a baby boy, the first time she held him in her arms. The queen was amazed. His skin was soft, his eyes were deep, and in the middle of his forehead there was a beautiful bright star. They named the young prince Adrian. For an entire week, the kingdom, floor inside the door opened with a long creaking noise, revealing the kind face of an old woman. She had long white hair and a face with deep wrinkles. Her smile indicated that she was happy to receive a visitor since she was about to have dinner. She asked Adrian to join her over dinner. Adrian talked about the kingdom where he grew up, about his traveling adventures, and about the young woman whose horse he'd set out to find. The old woman smiled, listening intently while watching the crackling fire in front of her. She offered to help him. She had 7 magic horses. They were rare animals, and so when they graced the sky, others from around the world would come to join. If Adrian wanted to find Anna's lost horse, he could take her horses out to grace, and Anna's would surely join, but be careful, the woman advised. These horses are the freest of all beings. They gallop on the night sky and nibble on the brightest stars. She warned him that their hearts were untamed, their spirits agile like the wind. Adrian thanked the old woman and followed her to the stables. The sky had transformed into a blanket full of stars. A thin white moon shone faintly above the ocean. All 7 horses were as dark as the night. They nickered excitedly when their owner set them free. Once the woman opened the gate, all 7 of them broke into a furious gallop, spread their wings, and rose until they reached the star-freckled sky. There, they started grazing, moving slowly from one silver star to another. Adrian enjoyed stargazing, but never thought that some creatures would feed upon the constellations. He walked back on the beach and found a comfortable spot on the sand, laying flat on his back. He gazed at the horses in the sky, watching for others to arrive. A gentle breeze caressed his skin. The foaming waves rippled back and forth in the tranquility of the night. Adrian felt his eyelids getting heavy and thinking about Anna and the beautiful forest clearing. Adrian drifted off to sleep. The prince awoke at the crack of dawn above him. The pale blue and the 7 horses were nowhere in sight. Adrian searched the beach and returned to the stables, but couldn't find them anywhere. He played his flute, hoping that the soothing melody would call them back. But nothing worked. He didn't know what to do. Not only had he missed the chance to return Anna's horse, but he may have lost Cross the Old Woman's magical creatures as well. He sat in the sand pondering what to do, when suddenly a loud buzzing sound emanated from the forest. It was much louder than the crashing waves. When he turned to look closer, a pack of magic horses galloped out of the forest at full speed. Behind them, a massive swarm of mosquitoes drove them towards the red stable as the cloud of mosquitoes drew closer. Adrian recognized a familiar voice. The mosquito he'd carried into the forest was returning the favor. Adrian smiled gratefully and made way for the stable, opening the door just in time for the horses to gallop inside. With the horses corralled, the swarm of mosquitoes turned and disappeared back into the forest. Adrian sent a heartfelt thank you to his winged friend into the morning air. The old woman appeared at the bee with a cheerful grin. "That was a close call," she said with a wink. "That horse isn't one of mine." She continued, pointing to a stallion in the corner of the barn. Adrian turned and noticed for the first time that there were now 8 magical horses. He moved closer to the one off by itself. It had the same deep eyes as Anna. It must be hers, he thought, as he stroked the creature's shining fur. He thanked the old woman for her help. If she ever needed anything, he would gladly return the favor after they said their goodbyes. Adrian climbed on the horse's back. He petted its flowing mane and gently whispered their destination in its ear. The horse neighed an agreement, then spreading its broad wings, it lifted off, soaring over the ocean and the emerald green forest. The feeling of flying was miraculous. The world seemed brand new from such heights. Flocks of birds danced around them, singing with joy. Within moments, a clearing in the middle of the forest appeared. Adrian pointed the horse toward it as Anna's little house came into view. The magical creature flapped its wings with a newfound energy. It had found its long-lost home. Anna waited in the garden, surrounded by forget-me-nots. In full bloom, the small blue flowers were adorned by dancing butterflies. The sound of a flute and flapping wings reached her ears. She looked up to find Adrian landing in the meadow at top. A beautiful horse, the magical creature trotted right over and nuzzled its face into Anna's outstretched arms. Nature seemed to pause in this moment of pure joy. Even the pixies darted in around the garden, flew over to watch Anna thanked the prince for his help and generosity. He smiled simply, being glad to bring joy to both her and the beautiful animal. That afternoon, the two climbed on the horse's back and returned to Adrian's kingdom. They circled the land, sprinkling a basket of pixie dust across every inch. Fields of grain and fruit suddenly exploded in size and ripeness. Cheers rang out from every home as the magical horse landed on the cobblestone path leading up to the castle. The kingdom, happier than ever, celebrated Adrian's return. Anna's horse got a giant red stable of its own, surrounded by a field of tall grass and wildflowers each night. Thereafter, the two led the magical creature out of the kingdom, past the protection of its walls, to the crystal-clear lake. They relaxed under the arms of the old willow tree, gazing into the pure reflection of the night sky, where the horse grazed on the brightest stars after eating its fill. The horse always returned to the kingdom that it now called home, when the land is dark, lit only by the silver moon, and the scent of jasmine travels through the air. You can still spot the winged creature galloping across the night sky.